Hello builders, and welcome back to another building video for this, the World Zoo project, a giant zoo where we are trying to get a habitat for every animal in the game. And what animal are we working on today, I hear you ask? Well, not just one, but two. The Japanese macaque and the cranes, which will be going in a lovely hot spring, our first habitat that we built in this Asian section of the zoo. And if you like Planet Zoo, feel free to click the link down below for my Twitch channel and come visit me over there, or leave a comment and like and do all that YouTube stuff people like doing. Alright, enough of that shilling, let's move on to the building. Let's go! So to start things off, I have to create a look for this entire building, and not just this building, but for the entire Asian area. As this is the first thing we are creating in the area, this is going to set the tone for the rest of this section, which is a pretty massive section when you consider how many animals there are in Asia alone. After several iterations of playing around, me and chat came to a conclusion that we loved this look. With my old friend copy paste, I outlined how big I wanted to make the building, and from there we just start expanding. And once I have a good size in mind, I start copying a few extra walls and making a glass panel. As when guests come into this building, I want them to look at the sleeping area for the monkeys and the cranes. With most of the walls complete, it's time to make a quick entrance and start playing around with more of the design elements for this Asian section. This is where I start getting really creative and discovering a lot of pieces. Before this build though, I never actually built anything with these Asian pieces despite having nearly 1800 hours in the game. So this was a real treat for me to really start exploring these pieces and expand my building horizons. And I've always wanted to use these monkey statues, and now I finally had the chance to use them. There was no better place than here at the Saru Springs. Saru, of course, being the Japanese word for monkey. At least that's what I've been told, and I choose to believe it without researching it myself. Being fairly happy with the interior for the guests, I wanted to come in now and start working on the climbing frames and sleeping area for the monkeys. And here we're going to build them a simple little wall, copy paste it around, and from there we will start building a climbing frame system for them, as all good climbing animals need a little jungle gym inside. Plus, I wanted to build an exterior wall with a small hole in the roof so that the monkeys could get up to the upper layer of the exhibit. For my exhibits, I never like having flat exhibits. I always love having hills, valleys, and steep little cliffs all over the place to make it look a little bit more natural for the animals. And a little less boring for the eye. Although come to the end of the video, you might agree with me when I say that this is probably one of my least natural habitats I've built in the zoo, but it is certainly one of my favorites. This one is going to end up looking like a giant hot spring that the monkeys and guests can walk around in and just chill in the hot water. Of course the guests can't, but we're going to make it look like they can. We'll even add in some changing rooms just to complete that look and pretend the guests can go in, change, and walk around in the hot springs. One recommendation I have for you if you're building interiors like this, never put a roof on until after you've built everything. It's just so much easier getting in there with the camera work. Trust me, I've tried building these structures with roofs on it, and it is a real pain. The camera is clipping in, you can't see what you're doing, and it's just a nightmare. Trust me, don't do it. And like I said earlier, it's time to create those change rooms for the guests. In order to create that effect, I've just added in some restrooms that make it look like the guests can go in there to get changed, and then they can come out the back end to go and hang out in the spa. Now, before we put a roof on this building, I wanted to fill out the space a little bit more as I felt it was a little too open. So I'm adding in a gift shop for the Saru Springs. After that, we'll do a little bit of garden work on the inside, as you'll see in a moment, and then the roof will be going on. With the interior done, let's get started on the roof. We're going to be doing the roof in 2 stages. First of all, it's just to cover this section that we've already built, and after that we'll be building a tower to go over the top of it. A little pagoda for the skyline. As I said before, I never really used many of these Asian pieces to build anything in Planet Zoo, and all of my building career in other games, I've never really built a Japanese pagoda, and this is my first attempt at it. I've always enjoyed watching other people build pagodas, and it's not something I've been brave enough to attempt until now, and hopefully you like what I come up with. I am quite happy with it, although I feel like there is room for improvement for future builds. Although one easy thing about pagodas is once you start building one layer, you can just copy and paste upwards and problem solve. It's easy to go. Bam! And all that's left now is to move the whole thing on top of the rest of the building and start working on the habitat. Usually when I start a habitat's interior, I come around and look at all the enrichment items to see if there's any large ones that need to be placed down and planned. In this case, we had to fit in stuff for 2 animals, being a little pond for the cranes, a foraging area for the monkeys, a waterfall, and as well as some other little toys. Once I have a placement for all of them, we can then start planning out the rest of the habitat. In this case, planning out where we're going to put all the pools. I wanted to have a tiered effect with the pools flowing into each other with little waterfalls, and then climbing frames all over the place for the monkeys to crawl around in. Now, I know it doesn't look like much right now, being it's just a big old mud ball filled with little pools of water. You gotta give time. Just let me cook. You'll see. You'll see. There's a vision in my head, and I managed to pull through, I think. Well, save judgment till the end. And I decided to add snow to the top half of it, mostly because this habitat is right beside our polar pass region, which contains all of our Arctic and cold climate animals, so I felt like it's a good transition piece to have some snow in the top layers of the habitat. And because I can never stay still and I'm constantly jumping around in my builds, let's come down to the bottom half of the habitat and just build a little exterior viewing area. If guests don't want to walk in that old stuffy building, then come out here and look out at the animals from these beautiful windows. Now it's time for the rock work. Anyone who's seen my videos knows it was coming. I love me some rock work. It's my real zen moment in any part of my builds. My favorite part where I can just zone out, ramble on about stuff in the stream, and just go to town on these rocks. What can I say? Rocks are great. Love them. More rocks in a habitat, the better it ends up looking. For my first bit of rock work, I wanted to experiment and come up with an overall look for the hot springs. So starting with this small spring seemed like a good step. And I use that later on as a base to create all the remaining springs. And just for fun, I decided to create a small little stairway, hoping that the monkeys can use it. And the fun fact is, they can. When I add the monkeys into the habitat later, they can actually path their way up those steps, and I was quite pleased to see them do it. And here's another tip for you. When you're working on rock walls, create one large segment of the wall, and then just copy paste that over and fill up the space. We're going to just pass over that. You don't have to watch me copy paste all that. Plus this video is already bloated enough as is, so we are going to skip by a few little things like that. Next, we're going to work on the waterfall. This, of course, is not a waterfall we would typically use, but it is in fact an enrichment item that I cleverly disguised with rocks to make it look a little bit more natural. And great thing is, the cranes can still use it and they love to sit underneath that water. Another benefit of having the waterfall here is it gave me a chance to create a cave for our train to go underneath. Even if it is just a little small one, it just adds that little bit more detail, which I love. And in case you're wondering about that train, it is a massively long train that is still under construction, as I'm planning to have it go around the entire park and stop off in multiple areas. And that train will not be complete until, well, the zoo is complete. And continuing on with the more rock work, we're going to go around and recreate what I had done in that smaller spring below and just add in all these little rocks and edging to the hot springs to create a nice hard edge between the two of them. Plus, I like to imagine that guests could be sitting on those rocks, dipping their feet in, or maybe just laying in the water entirely. And then, it's up to them. Although, would I want to lay in that water with knowing that there's monkeys and crane feces everywhere? Probably not. Just don't tell the guests that, because we gotta charge them money to come in here. I know this sounds bad, but look, we got 150 species in the zoo. You would not believe how much money it costs to feed these guys. They are voracious. They have to eat like almost every day. It's crazy. So we need the extra money. We are going to charge people to come swim around inside the monkey poop. We'll market it as some kind of aging cream or something. I don't know. That's for the marketing boys to figure out. I don't know. Maybe we got to hire some kind of professional snake oil salesman or something. Get them on the phone. Come up with some good old marketing. As long as they make me that money. Now, I love rock work as much as the next builder, but this one was quite an extensively large habitat with a lot of rock work. So for the sake of keeping this a video in under 25 minutes, which is already long enough for my videos, we are going to speed up the footage even more right now and zoom through this rock work. If you want to see this rock work done, maybe slow down the footage a little bit, turn off the volume because you're going to get some weird slow sound effects for the music. Other than that, just sit back and enjoy, and we will get back to it in a moment. let's bring it back to a more reasonable 800% footage speed. Yep, that's how fast I run these videos normally. If I wasn't doing that, could you imagine how long these things would take? Well, I can tell you, because this video would take at least 11 hours, because that's how much footage I had to go through to make this video. And you can see why it ended up being a 25-minute long video in the end, because oh boy, there was so much to show. And I didn't want to just cut out most of it, even though I did cut out a lot. But trust me, you're getting all of the good parts that are worth showing. Like right now, this beautiful little fence we're building made of bamboo. Is that worth it? Maybe. I don't know. You guys let me know in the chat below if you enjoyed this video. I always love hearing from people. And speaking of hearing from people, why don't you come say hello on Twitch? This is the best way to come say hello to me and support me. There we go. Got that Twitch mention in. Yeah, nailed it. Alright, time to just sit back, enjoy some music, and watch some decorating of the habitat. Isn't that satisfying? Just watching the whole thing come to life with some decorations, some plants and bushes and flowers and beautiful cherry blossom trees everywhere. Oh, told you it wasn't going to be a big old dirt ball forever. You just have to trust in the process and let me cook. But I tell you, one thing I love, maybe not as much as I love doing the rock work, but it's doing the plant work. Just putting all that bits of green in there, bushes and bamboo in this case. I absolutely love the bamboo. Crazy in love with the bamboo after the Asian section. Too bad I won't be able to use it that much going forward in the rest of the zoo. But as you'll see in future videos, I got my fill of it. What was I saying again? Oh yeah, talking about plants. Got a little carried away with the bamboo talk. Although I do love it. No, stop it. Don't go back in the bamboo talk. Alright, plant talk. Yeah, as you can see, plants are great. I love them. They bring a habitat to life. And like rocks, more plants, more good. Another thing I love to do in my builds is take these foraging areas and just fill them with plants, or give them some little edging, or in this case with some rocks, and then from there it makes it look like the animals are actually foraging through grass and bushes for their food instead of just in a pile of dirt, which I think makes it look that much better. And never forget to do a little bit extra detail with your terrain painting. In this case, I am just removing a little bit of the snow around the edges of the water, as it is a hot spring after all, so of course the snow is going to melt a little bit near it. as well as these little paths where I think the monkeys and guests would be walking and trampling on that snow. And now, builders, it's nearing the end of the video where I must say goodbye and do that whole outro thing. So you know what? I don't need to do it this time. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Oh wait, I'm doing it. Nope, stopping. Alright, I'm stopping. You know what to do. Go click the links, do the things, and all that. If you want to see the rest of this Asian tour, go click the link for that too. Next video will be the Siberian tigers, so look forward to that one. We got a big old habitat coming for that. And I think that's it. Let's just end the video here. Have a great one, builders. Hope you enjoyed this one. Goodbye.